Hi, this is Sweet June. How's everybody doing today? Beautiful day up here in Michigan. Springtime is coming. I'm so excited. Leaves are starting to come in on the trees. Woo! Feels so great. I love it. I love it when the weather is warm and springtime. It's beautiful, beautiful time of year. So I'm loving that. No more snow, no more cold. Well, the worst of it is over. We still have a few cold days, but the worst of it is over. So thank God. I hate wintertime. I really do. I hope everybody is doing okay. Hope your Monday is going good. Hope you had a blessed weekend. Um, hope everything all is well with everyone. I want to talk about due to current recent events going on in the news. I'm sure that all of you have heard about uh, Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin. I think that's her name. The one that played on Full House and Felicity Huffman. Well, they are being accused for paying UCLA a bribe to get their girls into the college, into the university there. So they're being accused of paying uh, several thousands of dollars to help to encourage the university to enroll their daughters into the school, so the daughters didn't have to go through the same things that everybody else got to go through, to get into the school. They can kind of skip some steps to get there faster. So I was marinating on that one day. I was like, So they got affirmative action for rich people? That's what I thought about that. I was like, they got affirmative action for rich people? I mean, just to kind of school you guys on affirmative action, let me give you a little lesson on what affirmative action is. A lot of people are not clear on that, or they don't have a full understanding as to why affirmative action got into place in the first place. A lot of people don't have a firm understanding. It's mostly white people that don't have a full understanding of why affirmative action was put into place. They don't understand it. The reason why affirmative action, we know that historically, um, black people was denied historically throughout history. Black people was denied access to. We couldn't even go into the same restroom as white people. We couldn't go to the same restaurants. We couldn't go. Um, when slavery ended and black people didn't have the same opportunities, was not given afforded the same opportunities as white people was given historically, you know, um, wasn't afforded the same opportunities as white people because of we all know because of the history of racism in this country, and it's still going on in this country, and a lot of institutionalized racism. Where they fought to get black people in the integrate the schools. There was separate schools, and I even think at one time there were separate hospitals. There were separate hospitals that black people couldn't even go to the same hospitals as white people. It was real bad at one time. I know. I think my mother grew up in Chicago, and I think she said that black people couldn't even go to the same hospital as white people. You know, back in the day. So, but black people couldn't do a lot of things. Black people was not afforded the same opportunities as white people. We all know that historically. And it's not necessarily, things was not necessarily separate, but equal. Even if it was separate, like we all know the school system, um, everything was separate, but it wasn't equal. And it's still not equal. We have to tell you the truth, it's still not equal. I mean, black children are still not getting the same level of education. When you go to a lot of schools in some of your inner cities, black children are not getting the same level of education and then the conditions of what they're going to school in is not good, and they're not getting the same level of education that the whiter, predominantly white schools are getting. I even see evidence of that in my own community. So historically, black people were denied opportunities, and there was a lot of institutional racism. There still is a lot of contrary to what a lot of people may believe. There's still a lot of institutionalized racism. It's just that it's not, they're not as outwitted as they used to be. But there still is a lot of institutionalized racism. And affirmative action was put into place because black people were historically denied we wasn't given the same opportunities that, like, if you went to apply for a job back in the day and a white person applied for that same job, well, they automatically would give it to the white person. You're not going to get it because they're not going to hire you because you're black. And so, I mean, that kind of still goes on today, particularly with name discrimination. But affirmative action was put into place so black people could get those same opportunities. It wasn't that we didn't have to be qualified, that we didn't have to be, our people didn't have to be qualified or whatever. No, we wanted to, the affirmative action was put into place so we would have the same opportunity to get the job as anyone else. It's not that not so much as the fact that you're getting cut some slack because you're black, but you are giving a fair opportunity. Affirmative action was put into place so black people can get a fair opportunity to compete for the job. We have just as much as a fair opportunity to compete for the job, instead of just saying, okay, well, you black, get on out of here, and they don't even give you the opportunity to compete for the job. Affirmative action afforded us that same opportunity to compete for the job as white people. That's what affirmative action was, because black people wasn't given those opportunities. That's why affirmative action was put into place. A lot of people think that, black people are getting cut some slack because of the fact that we're black. But give you one interesting fact. White females benefit more from affirmative action than black people. That is an interesting fact, because it says affirmative action covers all minorities. It doesn't cover black people. It covers all minorities, and white women are considered a minority because they're females. So if a job hires, like I had a job working at this assisted living facility, and at one time, I think they're doing better now. At one time, they had an issue with hiring African Americans at one time. They had an issue with not hiring African Americans. But they hired lots of white females, mainly a female dominated, field. But they hired lots of white females. So as long as they wouldn't get in trouble, because they're still filling the quota. White females are considered a minority. So they still, in a sense, are filling their quota under the affirmative action umbrella. Because under affirmative action, it covers all minorities, not just black people. It covers all minorities, and white females are considered minorities. So they benefit more from affirmative action. Employers know that. They know that white women go under that umbrella. So they figure if they hire a certain amount of white females, okay, they're covered. They still don't have to give an African American woman African American women, us black women, we're considered what they call double minorities. We're considered double minorities. We're black and we're female. So under that umbrella, we're double minorities. So they don't have to necessarily hire a black female. They can hire a white female and still fill that quota under the affirmative action umbrella. And so that's a loophole. That's like a loophole right there. Another interesting fact, just want to give you guys some interesting facts before I go into talking about this other, that they don't necessarily enforce. White people always say, well, always talking about affirmative action and black people getting this and that and the other. However, if affirmative action is not really enforced, what they don't know is it's not enforced. Particularly in the workplace. There's no affirmative action police that's going to come in and say, okay, let's see how many blacks you have on this job. Let's see how many Hispanics you have on this job. Let's see how many white females you have on this job. They don't have affirmative action police to have someone come in and look to see how many minorities you have working in your company. They don't have that. Nobody is going to enforce it like that. So because they know it's not going to be enforced, they, at their discretion, hire who they want to hire. If it's mostly white females, it's going to be mostly white females. If it's mostly, because they fit under that umbrella, that affirmative action umbrella, they go under that because they're white females. And so someone like me will look at that, was like this assisted living place I worked at was hiring predominantly white females. And I was looking at that as they're being discriminatory. Because they was literally turning away black people, literally. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they're being discriminatory. Because they're not hiring any black people, and the black people that they had, they was trying to get out of there. Last time I was there, because actually, ironically, when I was doing home care, I had a client there at that same assisted living, and when I went in there was like 3 black women working there. So, and I think that was because they changed management. So when they changed management, then that was, so I was happy to see that. But when I was working there, the director of nursing that was working there was racist, and she didn't want to hire any black people, black females, because it's mostly a female-dominated field. Didn't want to hire any black females. But in their mind, they're still filling their quota. If they, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they're being discriminatory. But in their mind, they're like, no, we're still filling a quota. We've hired white females. So that's a loophole. See, because us black women, we're considered double minorities. See, the law didn't say you had to hire a double minority. It just said you had to hire a minority. And that's the loophole. See, a lot of people don't think about that, but that's an interesting fact. White females benefit more. A lot of times white folks complain about affirmative action, but what they don't realize is that white females benefit more from it than black people, that black females and even black males. And there is no affirmative action police. They're not going to go to each company and say, okay, how many blacks you have working? How many, white females you got working? How many black males you got working? How many Hispanics you got working here? There's no affirmative action police. It's not going to be enforced. So that's something that they don't realize when they complain about that. They don't realize that white females actually benefit more from it than black females do, or even black males. Okay, because ultimately they still are hiring who they want to hire under that umbrella. Hmm. So that's just wanted to give you guys a little lesson about some education, kind of give you something information about affirmative action. So, and that's why it was originally put into place. So to give black people the same opportunity to compete for the job, not saying that they're cutting us, because I know in colleges they're saying that they were complaining that black people uh, could get in with under meeting less criteria than the white people, you know. But they can also let white women in, a certain amount of white women in under that same umbrella. They could be under that same umbrella. That's what people don't realize. So just kind of wanted to school you about affirmative action and everything like that. Um, but this situation with Felicity Huffman and Lori Loughlin, what they did was they paid the school, in a form of a bribe, gave the school so many thousands of dollars and said, hey, hook my daughter up, that so she didn't have to go through, or if she did take the test, whatever the score was, they overlooked it and overlooked her grades and said, okay, well, come on in, because you didn't gave us X amount of dollars. So, okay, well, overlook her grades and all the qualifications that you have to get into this university. They overlooked all that and say, well, come on in because, they didn't pay this amount of money. The reason why they're in so much trouble is because that's unfair. That's not fair because everybody else gotta, make sure they have the grades and make sure when they take the SCTs, the ACTs, they gotta make sure they got, the score that they need to qualify. They got to make sure that they have the qualifications to get into the university. Their grades got to be on point. The SATs got to be on point. You know what I'm saying? So they got to make sure that everything is on point before they can even get accepted into the university. Everybody know that. Okay. So, you got to meet that criteria. Whereas in their daughter's situation, even if they didn't score well on the ACT, the college overlooked it because their parents paid X amount of dollars. See, that's not fair to everybody else. Everybody else got to go through the regular application process. See, and have their academics looked at very closely, and the SATs and all that. And I'm sure that the bar is quite high for USC. I'm quite sure it's quite high because that's a really prestigious university in California. So in LA. So I'm sure the criteria of the bar is set kind of high, and you got to meet some serious criteria to get up in there. So that kind of made me wonder. I was marinating on that, and it kind of made me wonder, how many other rich people have done this? How many other rich people have paid this college as well as other colleges and universities X amount of dollars to get their child into this college, to overlook their grades and SCTs and all that kind of stuff to get into the. It just kind of made me wonder how many other rich people are doing the same thing. They're the two. They're the two that we know of that got caught. But how many of them out there that done did that haven't been caught? I mean, it kind of makes you wonder. So I'm like, what, do they got affirmative action for rich people? I mean, what is it? Affirmative action for rich people? You pay so much money and then you can get your child on in there? You know? That's what that is? Affirmative action for rich people? As long as you pay the right money, a right amount of money, you can get your child in there. They'll overlook the SATs, they'll overlook the grades, and say, come on in because your parents gave us $500,000. You know? It kind of makes you wonder. They're the two that got caught that we know of. But it kind of makes you wonder, how many other rich people have done this and they haven't been caught? It just kind of makes you wonder. I think that the FBI should do an extensive investigation to find out how many other families, rich, affluent families, are doing this. Because it's not fair. It's not fair to the other people that have to work hard, the other students that have to work hard to have their grade GPA at a certain level, to have their SATs at a certain level. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's dishonest. It's more than dishonest. It's dishonest, but it's not fair. It is not right to the other students that have to work hard to get into these universities. It's doing them a disservice. You're giving the rich people an unfair advantage because they have money. Or in some cases have money and fame. In their case, they have money and fame. Okay? Kind of makes you wonder how many other rich and famous people have been doing this. As long as they can pay the right amount of money or they're the right person, they can get their child into this university. And the universities should be getting in trouble for that too. And that just goes to show you, I'm going to do a video talking about it. Colleges are in the business of making money. That just goes to show you the greed that these colleges are dealing with. They're in the business of making money. And I stay tuned because I'm going to do a video talking about that. They're in the business of making money, and that is evidence of it right there. They're in the business of making money. They don't really care about the students per se. They know they're going to get so much money per head. And that student's going to be taking out loans, financial aid, scholarships, everything they can, parents' contribution, everything that they can take to give to the college so they can pay for their education. And the college is making money, making a whole lot of money. Shoot, I ought to open up me a university. I'm just joking. They making a whole lot of money. A lot of them don't do job training. You come out of school with this degree, and if it's not in a specialized field, what are you going to do with it? But I'm not going to go into too much of that because I'm gonna do a whole nother video talking about that. It's a business. College is big business. It's big business. Yeah, it's big business. They're about making money. But it just makes you wonder. That's kind of marinated on that, and just kind of made me wonder how many other rich people are doing the same thing. I said it's more than dishonest. It's just not fair. And they said that Lori Loughlin, they said Felicity Huffman, she didn't humble herself, and she said she took a plea deal and said she realized what she did was wrong, and she wasn't that was unfair and all that. So she kind of humbled herself, but they said Lori Loughlin's still walking around like she ain't gonna get in trouble. And then she still don't want to admit to nothing or whatever. So it'd be interesting to see how much time. They say they can get anywhere from 4 to 20 years, something like that. So it'll be interesting to see. I got a feeling they're not going to get much time. We all know why that is. We all know why it is. They're not going to get much time. We pretty much know that. So, let me know in the comment section what you think about this story. Are you curious about how many other rich people have done this? I am. I'm wondering how many other rich people have done this. I'm like, whoa, they got affirmative action for rich folks. Who knew? Well, we all kind of figured it was going on. I kind of figured, because if you got enough money, money talks in this country, particularly the United States, because this is a very greedy country. You can get just about anything if you got enough money. You can do just about anything, get just about anything if you got enough money. Money talks. You got enough money, you can pretty much do anything. You know what I'm saying? A lot of folks can be bought. You know, it's sad. It's sad, you know, because people don't operate on principle anymore, you know, and they're certainly not doing things God's way. So let me know in the comments. Sound off in the comments section. Let me know what you think about this situation. Do you think there's other rich people that are lots and lots of other rich people that are doing the same thing? I'll take a wild stab in the dark and say, yeah, I bet you there is. They just haven't been caught. So sound off in the comment section. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I got some more interesting video topics coming up. Stay tuned. This is Sweet June.